has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Boop, boop.
Ooh, DJ Manta.
She always ride with the top down, even when it's cold outside. Ooh, she got the keys to the boutique. She don't do 9 to 5s. 100,000 viewers on her IG live. She do it, make a toast to it. You ain't never heard of that. And then Birkin bag, stupid. You ain't never heard her brag or say that she going through it. I just wanna tap it, boop, boop it one time.
I really mess with T-Pain. I just want it out there for the record. I really rock with T-Pain. His verses, he was one of the early verses. I can't remember who he went up against. It was who, Andy? Lil Jon. That verses was lit because, you know, they both have hits. They both gonna have you partying and up in there. And T-Pain was just a lot of fun. He was going up. And it's the fact that he never needed auto-tune all along. He can actually really sing. So, you know, shout out to T-Pain because, boy, he had some bangers.
If you need some evidence, YouTube T-Pain National Anthem, Dodger Stadium.
And how appropriate that it was in the West
Absolutely.
where he blessed that. You know, shout out to T-Pain because, like I said, he really has a voice. But we all know the story. He thought about contemplating quitting music because Jay-Z dissed auto-tune, and then Usher said to him on the plane, "You still doing that auto-tune stuff?" Whatever, you know. But look, shout out to Usher in this career thing 30 years later, still breaking hearts, promises, and fingernails or something. I don't know. On his sugar-free stuff. Pimp Pimp Hooray. Anyway, so listen, I mentioned earlier that Alonzo Ball had some, you know, heat, a response to Stephen A. Smith. There have been rumors that that Zoe will never take the court again because the problems with his knees and feet are so severe that his career is basically over. Zoe has been sort of low-key about it. He talked about being concerned. He was recently on the Trae Young podcast where he spoke a little bit about those things. He hasn't played in an NBA game since January of 2022. Obviously, he's with the Chicago Bulls now. He was cooking before he got injured. He was finally displaying what we as fans, when he was here with the Lakers, were waiting to see happen. Looked like he had settled in Chicago, and they were pulling together a team that was going to, you know, do some things in the East.
Jill, before you continue with the story.
Yes.
Like, watching Lonzo's progression, watching Brandon Ingram do his thing in New Orleans, watching Julius Randle do his thing in New York. I believe we talked about this before, but I'm just curious to know. In hindsight being 2020, do we make that move for AD or do we keep the young stars that we had?
We make the move for AD every time.
Still.
Because, and I'm going to tell you why, and I agree, looking at these guys go, I mean, even D-Lo, you know,
Exactly.
Obviously he's more, but we had a young squad. We had the heat. But did we have the 6 to 7 years that it would take them to develop? Because of those guys, right? Which one of them has a ring? The one that came back to the Lakers, right? No, D-Lo wasn't on that team. I'm tripping.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No, so none of them, right?
Right.
None of them have effectively led their teams to a significant playoff run. I'm not saying they haven't made the playoffs.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they haven't had good showings.
Okay.
Just a significant playoff run.
Yes, ma'am.
That hasn't happened.
Right.
None of them have a ring. So as far as Laker fans are concerned, as far as LeBron is concerned, coming off the period that we had, which was very, very poor, no playoffs in an extremely long time,
Yeah.
Laker Nation does not take kindly to that. Do you know what I'm saying? So you got to do that deal. And obviously, here's the thing. It shows Rob Pelinka is good at evaluating talent, right? Maybe a little bit of Magic, because Magic was the head when some of those players were picked and brought in, right? So shows that pretty good talent evaluators. Also shows that when, Foot was held to the fire, he got it done because LeBron needed a championship, or we were going to start looking at maybe him heading out the door. And people say that they are okay with that. However, had the Lakers have gone a full decade plus with no rings, would have been a problem. Wouldn't have been happy fans, and wouldn't really have felt like Laker Nation. And we had already been through so much. So
all of this because of LeBron, correct?
Not just because of LeBron.
Because if LeBron wasn't on this squad, that move for AD, I don't think we would have done that.
I think we would, maybe, because you think about this, we had, swung big and lost when we were trying to get Chris Paul a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to swing big with Dwight and Steve Nash,
right,
and that whole situation. So I think the only reason why the Lakers hadn't had better superstars before LeBron clicked in to come,
mm-hmm.
Where they were marginal, is because there was such a bad rap on playing with the Lakers at that time period.
And Kobe was still playing until what, 2019?
I think, 2019, 2018. Monday we're going to have former NBA champion, former Miami Heat star, Derek Anderson on the show. So these are some questions that we're going to have to ask him.
Okay.
He's going to be calling in on Monday.
Okay.
But I do feel like, it was the right move for the Lakers. We got another banner hanging in there. That's one more than Boston has, right? Or are we tied?
We tied.
Okay. All right. Whatever. We close. I've been watching Winning Time. I'm an LA authentic fan. So, no Boston love ever.
I hear you 100%. And, I am thankful for that 2020 chip. But I do feel that, considering at that time, the Warriors, they were at their peak. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? They pretty much were developed through the draft. I just felt like they created a blueprint, and I felt like we should have stayed put, in my opinion. The chip probably would have came 5-6 years later, but I think 5-6 years later it would have been chip after chip after chip, or at least in contention.
I do believe that, but I don't think that Laker fans would have stayed down for that process, judging by the way that they were reacting and the feelings that came out for those years prior when we had those guys and we're kind of developing them.
Right.
Also, the question begs, would we have been able to keep them all together long enough for them to gel and develop together?
Yeah.
Money things are going to come up. And when you are not in contention for a title directly that close, nobody's going to be like, let me give up my money so you can sign this dude and maybe we'll go one extra round in the playoffs, one extra game. Not going to happen. Somebody's going to be selfish, and you probably wouldn't have been able to hold them down together anyway. So,
I feel you.
We don't know. It's just a theory. We'll never know the truth with that. When we come forward, we'll get into Lonzo Ball and what he had to say to Stephen A. Smith about Stephen A. Smith's comments. We're going to talk about what Jennifer Aniston had to say about cancel culture. And, of course, we're going to get into Sage Steele. Do you think she's a sellout? We're going to kind of examine that conversation. All that and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
When it comes to special needs educational and health resources, Special Needs Network has you covered. On Saturday, August 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Jane Addams Park in Lawndale, Special Needs Network and California Assemblywoman Tina McKinnon invite you and your entire family for a fun-filled day at a back-to-school and health fair. Featuring music, live performances, exhibitions from your favorite professional LA sports teams, a petting zoo, pony rides, a kids zone, and professional haircuts for kids and teens. Get critical early identification and intervention resources, health and dental screenings, bags of fresh fruits and vegetables, and an opportunity to win fantastic prizes. Free backpacks and school supplies while they last for students, and a chance to win a free cell phone or tablet from TrueConnect with an EBT card. Visit snnla.org or on Facebook or Instagram at Special Needs Network.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on.
K-Drip. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're locked in with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. RSVP is the show where we hit all the trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. Now, we mentioned Zobal and what is going on with him. If you didn't know, he's been out since January 2022 with an injury. There are rumors that are suggesting that he's probably played his final game of basketball, that he won't be able to recover. You know, it's out the door. We know it's a serious injury. We're not really sure. There are also rumors as to what might have enhanced this situation. Big baller brand shoes. Anyway, we don't know if that's true either. But Stephen A. Smith commented, like he does on several issues about this. And Zobal had a response from his pool in his backyard on one knee. And this is what he said.
Stephen A., who are your sources, bro? Please tell me who your sources are. Come on, man. You gotta stop yapping. And I actually like you, man. I don't even know you like that, but I like you. I'm coming back, man. Come on.
So shout out to Zoe. He seemed to take it in stride. He was laughing. He was showing that he can move up and down on one knee. He was balancing very clearly. So I guess he wanted to let Stephen A. know whoever is giving you that information is wrong. It's actually the second day in a row that Stephen A. has been dinged for a story that he put out allegedly. What I will say about that is this: the one before was regarding Stephon Diggs and support. Stephon Diggs is an NFL player, plays for the Buffalo Bills. Supposedly, he's unhappy with the Bills and would like to move on. He's not demanding a trade, but would like to move on. So that is what Stephen A. said. Stephon came out and tweeted and said that is not true. But however, we also know that athletes utilize the media in different ways as well. Sometimes information is put out there. They might want to deflect. They might want the information out there so that it's not necessarily coming from them, but the other side knows how they feel. Could be all sorts of different things, or it could be outright misinformation. We won't know for sure until probably later on down the line. I will say, however, that, it's probably hard for Zoe. Thinking that, even dealing with the possibility. Again, he touched on it a little bit when he was on Trey Young's podcast. about the possibility of never playing again. And we'll have to see what happens. We know as far as rehab and medicine, it's a lot more evolved than, say, it was 15 or 20 years ago. So hope stands alive. Derrick Rose is still out there hooping. We know he went through some stuff. So we'll just have to see. We want to send positive vibes to Zoe. Like I said, they were cooking in the Eastern Conference. I think the Bulls were like 1 or 2 at that time period before he went down, and just really changed the trajectory of the team. So we'll have to see what happens this season. We'll have to see if he makes it back to the court this season. LA County's own. So shout out to him. We want to see him do well. All right. Now, let's get into this Sage Steele topic. Now, if you've been following along, Sage Steele recently announced that she is parting ways with ESPN. She was suing the network because she said they denied her First Amendment right to speak freely when she is off the clock. She did an interview where this was shortly after the pandemic, I believe, or during that time period. And the subject matter came up about vaccination and ESPN's vaccine mandates at the time. And she said that she felt it was stupid and that something to that effect. I can't remember her exact words, but basically she was suspended for it, and she sued them behind that because she said that ESPN allowed some of its anchors to speak on political issues and had different rules for different people. They ended up settling. Stephen A. Smith spoke out about this because he said that, although he considers Sage Steele a good friend, that he felt her comments were directed towards him as far as special treatment and things like that. And he agreed to a degree, but not. He said he felt like she was a little off base and that you have to consider context in any of these situations. And there's a difference between speaking about something in general and something that is directly in disrespect to your employer, per Stephen A. in this conversation. He said this on his podcast, which is on YouTube, The Stephen A. Smith Show. He also said that there's time and place for certain topics. And sometimes you can say something and it can go under the water, go under the radar. People aren't paying much attention to it. Other times, just the timing, things blow up. He alluded to a situation that happened with him and Oshani. Is that the pitcher from the Angels? I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. But Stephen A. Smith a couple of years ago was suspended because he said that based on this pitcher's race, Shohei Ohtani. Okay, so yeah. So I was combining both. Oshani, not quite it. Ohtani. So basically what he said was that he would never be a superstar here in America because he wasn't basically American. That's not probably the way that he said it. However, he did say it. People took offense to it, and he ended up suspended and off air for that. But there are other things that he has probably said or referenced that he did not. So again, time and place, I do respect that. But some of the other comments that people have reacted to Sage Steele over the course of her career, as far as thinking that she is the type of biracial woman who is like, I'm not like those black women, I'm a different type of woman, This is the kind of vibe people are saying they get from her. Is one, she said on another podcast that she found it so interesting that Barack Obama considered himself black when his black father abandoned him. Why doesn't he consider himself both equally? That was one of the things that she said. Andy's back there losing his mind. She also talked about basically, how she felt like her husband, who is white, sort of saved her, rescued her in a way, not literally, but, she was very thankful for him and their relationship, which some took as her, kind of playing into a white savior stereotype. I don't know if she necessarily meant it right that, or if people were just reading it that way, but they were nevertheless offended by it. And most recently, she also let a white person pet her hair. So people, they get tricky about that. Don't touch my hair. I'm a black woman. Don't pet me. Don't, can I see it? Can I touch it? That can be sensitive to some people. It depends on who you are about that. Andy?
Didn't Sage still have the Barbara Walters situation too?
She did, where she said Barbara Walters elbowed her into a trash can or something like that because of comments about Barack Obama that she made on air. I don't know why Sage felt like she needed to share that, but she did. I guess she just wanted to be completely transparent and honest in all ways and things. But here's the deal. She got into a little bit of a back and forth on Twitter the other day because, as I said, she, recently has announced that she left ESPN to exercise her right to speak freely and so forth. So she got into a little conversation with Mark Lamont Hill, who is a commentator and so forth. And so, Sage Steele believes that people consider her a sellout simply because she is biracial and she considers her white half. She said, she loves her family. It's associated with both sides. And that is why she feels like people have called her a sellout. Mark responded and said, no one has ever called Sage Steele a sellout for this reason. No one. And so she responded with, when people like this have the audacity to speak for others and claim they know what others have experienced, especially people they've never met, never talked to, don't have the decency or courage to reach out to and have an actual conversation with, these people hate the C word. It's so predictable, and frankly, it reveals everything we need to know about their character. And she directed that to Roxane Gay as well as Mark Lamont Hill. And so, there were a lot of responses. One I saw from a Twitter user that kind of encapsulated what I saw a lot of people say. The Twitter user is Cocky MF, and he said, once again, you've convinced yourself that you being biracial is why black people think you're a sellout, when in reality, the fact that you think going on Megyn Kelly's show is a good move is the real reason why black people think you're a sellout. Someone else also said, that's exactly what racist white people do to black people all day, Sage. They even tell us to get over slavery and move on, as if the oppression and terror didn't come from the Jim Crow era. So it's not essentially that she is honoring both sides of her ethnicity. It has more to do with about how she addresses certain things and how she moves through the world. And again, I'm not sure what her experience was like growing up. She said a very good one, but, her family does seem, just by some of the statements that she's made and the conversation that she has engaged in, to think differently than what most people think about someone who is really down and a part of the culture would. Andy?
Well, it sounds like the white side of her family has a strong influence.
Very strong,
on, who she is. I mean, to make that statement about Barack Obama, why is he not acknowledging his whiteness? That right there just goes to show her lens on a lot of things.
Exactly. So Mark Lamont Hill ended up on Rachel Lindsay and Van Latham's podcast, and he continued the conversation about, not specifically about Sage, but in general about biracial people and sort of how they respond. So we're going to listen to their comments.
I would say that our conversation is more so centered around biracial people who do not want to identify as black. Not biracial people who say, I am black and I'm white. Because I have...
But you're not white. But you're not white. I guess that's the thing I'm pushing. You're black and you have white family.
You really don't believe as a biracial person you can say, I'm both.
Nah, you can't say you both.
Imagine saying you're gay and you're straight.
Well, you would say you were bi.
That's a different thing.
Right, which is not straight. And straight becomes the norm, right? So let's follow this logically out. Similarly, a biracial person is not the norm, right? In a white supremacist society, that is what? White. So you can't be biracial and white anymore. You can be bisexual and straight. Now, again, these are problematic ideas.
Rach, fight back. This bodying you right now.
It's not,
I'm not trying to fight back.
We're not debating. We're not back. Don't let this down here pipe you up to think we battle. We just talking. We building.
So, I mean, I think that, he raises an interesting point, right? Because if you're not black, you're not white either. So you can, one, identify. I mean, and let's be real, we know where the one drop rule came from. But the reason why most biracials identify as black is because the black community was more accepting of them. Those babies were left with their mothers. So it was the mother's responsibility to take care of them. Black, white, light, dark, whatever, that's mama's baby. And the community is going to rally around that woman. And that is where it came from. I know there's a lot of conversation and debate on what is black enough, especially at this time period, as people want to dive in and dissect and sort of break down more what defines blackness, especially as the internet has expanded the conversation that we have as far as the diaspora. So there is very much input from the Caribbean nations, from the African nations, from those that are in Europe who have different perceptions of race and culture, and obviously have looked to Black Americans as far as the definition of blackness in a lot of ways, because it leads in culture for many years, and all of that is changing. People are debating that. However, saying all that to say, I don't think that Sage saying that this is why people call me a sellout and this is why they can't relate to me also shows me how not in tune she is with the black community. Because if she had those bridges, she would have probably from childhood had these conversations and understood where the black community kind of lines up as far as this conversation, why they line up that way, and why those conversations are had and made. I remember Halle Berry's mom back in the day did an interview, or maybe Halle herself talked about it, and she said that her mother told her, or her mother said that she told her that, listen, as far as this world is concerned, you are a black woman. That is what they see. That is what they will see when you show up. And you need to understand that and prepare as such. Doesn't mean that it's anything bad. It just means that some people will test you in a different way or, put you through different paces. And I always respected her white mother for putting that bit of information into her ear so that it wasn't something that people could use to take away from her as she grew and developed, especially considering the type of career that she took on. And so I feel that, Sage may not have had a black auntie or grandmother in that fashion. Granted, no, it doesn't have to be white. I mean black, because I just said Haley's mother was not. But obviously that wasn't something that was happening with it looks to be her dad's side of the family. So I think that there are some lessons, some things that are just a part of growing up sometimes that are, similar in black culture, like that maybe she missed out on based on her upbringing. I believe she grew up in Indiana as well. And her father was a military man. So, all of those things probably impact as such. And Stephen A. mentioned that. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
I like that. She don't even need me to try. She pull up in the Rari with the roof up. I'm just buying drinks, you're doing too much. I like that. She don't even need me to buy her nothing. She got money in her. What you think about that? She don't see fly, she's stunting. She gon' bust it. What you think about that?
Infusing us into fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is asking a federal judge to block his arrest in the Georgia election case. Lawyers for Meadows filed the request Tuesday in federal court in Atlanta, Georgia. They argue Meadows should not be required to surrender for booking in the case by Friday while he fights to have the matter moved to federal court. About 1 in every 5 women are mistreated while receiving maternal care, and close to a third face discrimination. That's according to a new CDC report. Those experiences are even more common for Black, Hispanic, or multiracial mothers. About 30% of them faced mistreatment, and 40% said they were discriminated against. Serena Williams is welcoming her second child into the world. The tennis icon and her husband announced today that their house is teeming with love for their second daughter. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A. Copyright 2023.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talent, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I'm Dominique DePrima. We can all fall into the trap of mindlessly spending sometimes. I know I do it. But one tip for staying on track is when you have an impromptu purchase that comes up, try making a habit of taking a quick look at your bank account balance before you buy it. It's not just about seeing how much you have in your checking account. Just looking at your account might put the urge to make that impulse purchase into perspective and help you make better choices that'll benefit you for the long term. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Got a little Blondie for me tonight. I know people are like, what is going on? Shout out to Blondie, man. I loved Blondie. This song was featured, of course, in American Gigolo, starring Richard Gere. I think that they even played it in the remake that was on Showtime a couple years ago. And I definitely think that the song was featured on Gossip Girl one time. Not really certain about that, but seems about right. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you, Andy. I mean, really, though, you guys could take Blondie's advice and call me, 800-920-1580. You could do that or put it in your pocket for tomorrow. Just make sure that you tap in because you're VIP. And VIP means you get access, right? Right. So, listen, before we came forward, we have mentioned that Jennifer Aniston tweeted out, she didn't actually tweet this out. It was part of an interview that she did in a cover story for the Wall Street Journal magazine. And she said that she's so over cancel culture. And she said she probably just got canceled by saying that, but she said that she doesn't understand what cancel culture means. Is there no redemption? You know, she says she doesn't put everything in and she used Harvey Weinstein basket. And she went on to explain some things about it. But I think that, you know, and let me say this before I go into what I really want to talk about as far as this topic. People were mad because they're like, Jennifer, you just tried to cancel Jamie Foxx 2 weeks ago off a mistake. And you didn't even, offer up an apology because you were wrong. You misread it, you know. But listen. I think that we are at that point. I think it's what happens with a lot of things, you know, when people are trying to fix egregious situations, things that have been really, really wrong or in bad form for a long time. Sometimes there's an overcorrection and we tend to go really hard in the paint to try and show that we are legitimately making the effort to make things right, to correct whatever past grievances existed, you know, if we can. But I think that she does bring up a good point. I think that because social media has allowed everyone to have a voice, to have their opinion heard, people are a lot harder on, others than maybe they should be at some point. Because I do wonder, do we leave room for growth in people? Do we leave room for people to find the error of their ways and get it right? Everybody is going to make a mistake. Nobody is born perfectly formed, making all the right moves at every moment. Now, do I understand that there are some things that you kind of can't come back from or that they are unforgivable? Of course, naturally. But some of the things that I think that over the past few years we may have put in to those same categories, I think are detrimental to who we are as humans, and they don't foster realistically growth. They don't give people the room to expand who they are and learn from that. That is life. That's what happens. We all have done something dumb, stupid, said something inappropriate. Now, granted, I'm not saying that you accidentally say something racist or something like that. You kind of know what you're doing, but age plays a factor, what you're into at that time. And I think that, you know, especially for young people, maybe even especially now, you try on different versions of yourself. You're not really sure what version is going to fit or stick. And you may do things that are just plain out silly, just boredom, lack of awareness, whatever. But what does remain consistent is that the world keeps spinning and people are going to need room to mess up and get it right. So what do we do as far as forgiveness and cancel culture? And is there a certain space where you draw the line for yourself individually? I mean, everyone has a different rate of tolerance. Everyone has different triggers. But I do think the idea of cancel culture, which started probably from a very good place, has been abused in some instances at this point, to the point where people don't really take it seriously anymore.
Unfortunately, these are the times that we're living in, and I think cancel culture is here to stay.
You do?
Especially with social media.
Well, okay, name me 3 people, right? Chrisette Michelle not included, but name me 3 people that have really been canceled.
R. Kelly?
He's in jail, though. That doesn't count. Like,
well, he was canceled before he went to jail.
Yeah, but long time coming. He
Okay.
rode that way for a long, long time. And a lot of stuff had to come out in order for that cancellation to happen. Because if you think about it, and I am not of no opinion, I just, you know, people go back and forth about his music and what they feel about it and if it's triggering and if you should listen to it. And, you know, some people bought their CDs back in the 90s, so they are not adding more money to his pocket if they listen to it or play it in their Apple Music because they've already paid their contribution to it. You know, I mean, that it's a choice. It's a choice that you make. It's a choice you probably should do in your own house alone because you might get a lot of heat. But, I mean, it took a lot for R. Kelly finally to get canceled. A lot. So you can make that argument, but look how long and how far we had to get there. I mean, just some of the things that we, like you take and I'm not taking a position on if he should or shouldn't, but someone like Trey Songz, who has had, over the past few years, multiple accusations of sexual assault, right? So Trey has been keeping a low profile, but
he has.
Is he canceled?
No.
He's still around.
He's still around, but he hasn't really said anything outspoken.
No, he hasn't.
And he's probably doing a smart thing, is hiding.
To let it blow over,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Chris Brown. Now, you know, there are a lot of different ways that you could land on the original sin. 2009, February, before the Grammys. You know, there were some accusations that Karrueche made and the restraining order. There were some things that we saw. We saw what just happened with him and Tiana Taylor and Usher a couple months ago. But here's the thing. We just talked about Chris putting out 15, 36-song albums and what have you. His fan now, is he where he was when he was doing the Doublemint commercials and all of that? Absolutely not. But realistically, and they were trying, has Chris Brown been canceled? He went through a hard spot, but has he been canceled?
No.
So, I mean, this is the thing. I know that there are a couple people, but I think that those are exceptions that had to do really, really, really a lot of stuff to really get canceled. You know, other than maybe Chrisette Michelle when all of that happened with Donald Trump back at that time period, and she might have just been caught up in a moment. Is Kanye West canceled?
I think there were attempts.
I think that there were attempts as such, but, you know, listen. Those Sunday services were full, and they were after some of the commentary from WEA.
Okay. Kyrie.
Is he canceled? Kyrie still getting money?
Okay.
Kyrie actually spoke out to defend who the other day that he felt was getting a bad rap. Recently.
It was another athlete, right?
Yeah, I'm blanking on who it is right now. But Kyrie had a bad couple of months.
Okay.
Lost some money, but...
Okay, I got one for you.
Okay.
DaBaby.
DaBaby got a single right now that people are popping off with.
It took a while, though.
Here's the thing.
They did remove him from this one.
He got removed from stuff, and he lost his money. But I also subscribe that subscribe to the idea that the baby helped push himself along because he didn't shut up. You know what I mean? Like, you said what you said, and then you doubled down on it.
Right.
And then you guys were going after Megan, who was, you know, on a lot of people's hearts and minds at that time period.
Yeah, that was whack right there.
So, you know, you had a minute of uncomfortable. You had the stuff going on with Danny Lee and your baby's mom where you were going back and forth and, you know, letting the, you know, some people felt colorist commentary fly from Danny Lee and then dissing, you know, playing those games. But like I said, he has a single right now that, you know, people are TikToking to, that is doing its thing. So he had some uncomfortable times.
Right.
And he did lose some money.
He sure did.
He lost a lot of money. So being fair to say that. But in less than a year, he's back.
Well, you know, time heals all wounds.
Right.
So
we'll see. You know, you think that, controversial question here. You think that in 10 years' time, people are going to be checking for what Tory Lanez has to offer?
Man, there's people checking for him now.
Right.
So 10 years from now, absolutely.
You know, he'll be in there with his pen game, maybe trying to put some stuff out,
There
maybe
you
write
go.
whatever. So I think that early on there was especially in the early days of Me Too, when people were riding that wave and things like that, for sure. But I think that it's still there. I think people are still going to be vocal, but I don't know if cancel culture is as impactful as people believed it would be, or if it really has affected as many people long term
Right.
as maybe some would have liked to see.
I think cancel culture, you know, based off of what you just said just now, it's more of a short term kind of situation. But, you know, like I said, time heals all wounds.
It
so.
really does. And if you win, even better, no
Absolutely.
matter the playing field. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Meet Bruce.
Hey there.
He's a busy soccer dad who's trying hard to learn the game.
Go for the end zone.
Whoops. Luckily, other things come easy, like banking with Chase. On a tip from his banker, he set up autosave in the Chase mobile app. So what are you saving for, Bruce?
Father-daughter soccer camp.
Smart bankers, convenient tools. One bank with the power of both. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Autosave requires a Chase checking and savings account. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into the final hour of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. VIPs, we always appreciate you locking in and checking us out. Really quickly, I want to tell you what you have to look forward to tomorrow. Of course, it's Wednesday, so we will have Trent the Artist, Trent Jackson, in with us. We're going to have our Tubi movie review. You know, that is always hilarious and fun. And, of course, we're going to have more Keep It Real conversation because Trent is our Keep It Real friend. So that's what you have to look forward to tomorrow. So I have two more stories for us tonight before we call it an evening. One, I thought this one was pretty interesting and pretty funny. Well, funny might not be the wrong word. Like, funny, interesting. It might not be amusing to everyone, but there is something kind of funny about it. So there's an Instagram model, according to BSO, Black Sports Online. Her name is Destiny, and she offered to pay the fines for any NFL player that would take out her latest NFL player baby daddy, Eli Apple. She also claims that she has children with two other NFL players, one of them being Josh Jacobs, the other being Geno Smith. And she's released a bunch of text messages from these individuals, but she has put an in-game bounty on her baby's father. We know bounties are illegal in the NFL, although they are allegedly still around occasionally, you know. But what is this? Why are you doing that? Like, that's your child's father. That's your child support money. Why are you trying to endanger his life? Anyway, that's how they're rolling. So this is a conversation that we've had a couple of days ago. At what point do you value your swimmers more than this? At what point do you look at a situation and say, you know, may not work out so well? I don't know, but that's the current situation allegedly that Eli Apple is in. So good luck to him. Hope it all works out. And I'm sure the league is looking into it because they are no joke when it comes to those type of things. Now, this is a story that I think is very interesting. And of course, I waited till the after hours to discuss it because it is kind of an after hours topic. So you know who Stacey Abrams is, right? She's the woman that played an amazing role in the blue wave in Georgia that, you know, made sure that the Democratic Senate representatives were set. She went door to door, set a lot of things in motion, did not win the governor's seat there, but, you know, we love Stacey Abrams, right? So we also knew that she had another side, that she was an author, and that she wrote romance novels under an assumed name, Selena Montgomery. Well, Stacey Abrams now plans to re-release a few of her books. The first one being The Art of Desire. It's a spy romance thriller that she first published in 2001. So this reissue will have both of her names, Stacey Abrams, as well as her pen name, Selena Montgomery. She said that when she was publishing her first novel, she was also publishing an article on the operational dissonance of unrelated business income tax exemptions. So she felt like, you know, this is when Google was just starting out, and she thought about it and she was like, you know, if someone Googles me, they might come up with both of these and it might not be good. So she decided to write under a pseudonym because obviously you can't write tax policy under a pseudonym. And, you know, she wanted to see where it goes. She had this conversation with Ebony recently. So she's going to revisit the world of her lead character, Alex Walton, from her first book. And she is also going to reissue Rules of Engagement, which was based on one of her ex-boyfriend's dissertations. So about the book, she says, Riley is the main character in the first book, but I had fun creating her best friend, Alex, and I thought she deserves to have someone. So The Art of Desire was born. Abrams says it's slightly autobiographical because Alex's character is grappling with her artistic side and her more cerebral part. So how does she reconcile all of this? I guess you have to read the book to find out. So that is coming up for Stacey Abrams. They'll be in stores soon. So tell me, are you interested in checking out Stacey and her romantic, adventurous, fictional side if you haven't already checked out the books? Because obviously it's not new information. We've heard about this before. She says that she really loves writing these type of books. She loves the genre. She loves romance, and that she thinks it's one of the most effective genres in fiction, where you can tell a complex story, an interesting story, but really tap into the audience. So, and she said by utilizing an African-American cast, they're not usually the subject of these type of stories. So it allows them to step into some things that are in, a different sort of arena. And she said in her real life, she doesn't necessarily get to push boundaries like this, so it's always enjoyable to do it in written form. She said that as far as her pen name, she came up with that rather quickly and on the fly. She said she needed it the next day, and it was around 2 in the morning, and she said she had been, vacillating on a name, trying to figure out something exciting. So she was watching A&E biography, and Elizabeth Montgomery was the subject matter, that's Samantha from Bewitched, the old 60s television show where she played a witch. And Samantha had an evil cousin named Serena. So she said she started imagining her signature, and she doesn't like the way her R's look. So she changed it to an L, and Selena Montgomery was born. So no deep story. That's just how she came up with her name. She says that politics will always be a part of who she is. It's one of the ways that she engages with the world. But right now, it's not her focus. She said we have some important elections coming up, and she will always be engaged in the political space. And she's not sure if she will run for office again, but she said that her mission will be to continue to contribute, that she has an internal compass that, naturally gravitates towards these type of issues, and she wants to solve problems and do well. And politics is one way that she can do that, but she says she also can do it through her writing, and that she can do it through entrepreneurship, and that she can do it through her civic work. So her mission, she says, is to do the best thing for right now and take in the moment and make the world better. So shout out to Stacey or Selena Montgomery, whichever you prefer if you're nasty. And, make sure that you check out her written fiction. Really quickly, do you mind that she has that? Like, does it matter to you? Do you think that it is inappropriate for a political figure to also have a pen name where she writes about romance and intrigue and espionage and all of that to make you question her seriousness? I don't know. Things like that, people tend to look at a little wiggly. So listen, we have time for one more story, so I'm going to drop this in there really, really quickly. Ciara has a new single that she's coming out with, BRB, Be Right Back, and she released a video, obviously fantastic choreography, well, a video of her rehearsing, not the actual video, showing us what we have to look forward to. And a fan kind of clapped back at her and was like, is she going to continue trying to force this TikTok music down our throat? Well, Cece wasn't having it. She did not appreciate the idea that she makes TikTok music. And she said, you know what, but you're watching. Well, turns out this woman, her name is Kenia Cole, is an assistant basketball coach for the University of Virginia, William and Mary University in Virginia. And she was like, I think I hit a nerve. And now Ciara has people sending me death threats. Listen, Cece is showing you that there's a difference between Ciara and Cece, and she wants to let you know that if she wants to make her TikTok music, she's going to make her TikTok music music and be happy with her husband and her new baby. So y'all better fall back and let CC be CC. Thank you for rocking with us, VIPs. You will hear the best of KBLA when we come forward. You've been locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Have an amazing night.
I know what you were on about, but when I did, I wasn't trying to lead you. Now you bring me home and tell me good night's not enough for you. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. African-American New York City Mayor Eric Adams continues his overseas trip in Israel. He's meeting